Ireland is known for its folklore. Much of this folklore is a combination of both Christian and Celtic influence, which gave birth to a series of unique tales, from a mysterious island to a headless monster. Here are 10 dark Irish legends. In the 17th century, an elderly couple lived in a cottage on a hillside called Stumpys Brae. One dark night, they met a travelling labourer, and they insisted he stay the night at their cottage. They seemed like a nice old couple, so he accepted. But while he slept at night, the old couple murdered him with a pickaxe. They did it to steal his belongings, and he died instantly. Their next step was to bury him. As he was so tall, they cut his legs off just above the knee. They buried him at the base of a tree outside and thought that was the end of it. But the man would soon return in the form of a ghost. With the stumps of his legs, he walked into their cottage to haunt his killers. They fled all the way to North America, but the ghost followed. They are now long dead, but he still appears to torment their living descendants every night. Ballycotton is a very small village at the southern coast of Ireland. In 1878, July 7th was a very unusual day for Ballycotton locals. They woke up that morning to see an island in the ocean. No island had been there before. Word soon spread, with some locals going out in boats to investigate. As they got nearer, they were able to see small buildings on the island. They reached the island but found the buildings contained nothing other than human skeletons. This made them want to leave, but the island disappeared into thin air before they could. Neither they nor the island were ever seen again. Have you ever wondered why people carve pumpkins on Halloween? It's thanks to the legend of Stingy Jack. Stingy Jack was a blacksmith. One day, the devil came to take him to hell, but Jack tricked the devil into transforming into a silver coin. He put a cross on top of the coin to prevent the devil from transforming back. In return for freedom, the devil agreed to never claim his soul again. A while later, Jack died, but he was denied access to heaven as he'd been sinful. He then tried to go to hell, but like they agreed, the devil also denied him access. The devil gave him a magic piece of burning coal, which will always provide light for him. Denied access to both heaven and hell, Jack has walked the earth ever since. On Halloween, it's said that evil spirits enter our world for one night. That's why people carry around pumpkins, to disguise themselves as Stingy Jack. There is said to be a mysterious creature known as Fetch. They appear before humans to warn of their coming death, and always take on the appearance of those they appear for. It's like the Irish version of a doppelganger, but they only appear as omens of death. So according to legend, if you meet someone who looks like you in every way, you will surely die soon. It is said that Marjorie McCool died and was buried in 1705. She was buried with a valuable ring on her finger. This was known to many locals, and a grave robber soon dug up her body. He attempted to pull the ring off her finger, but was unable to. So he pulled out a knife to remove her entire finger. But as soon as he cuts into her, she starts screaming. She wasn't dead, but had been buried alive. Historians tend to doubt the authenticity of this tale. However, it's said that she lived in the town of Lurgan. In a Lurgan church cemetery, there stands a gravestone which says, Marjorie McCool lived once, buried twice. St. Michan's Church has stood in Dublin since the year 1095. Underneath the church are 5 vaults, which contain the mummified bodies of many dead people. Their mummification was caused by the atmosphere in the vault. For many centuries, mysterious tales have been associated with them. It's said that every full moon, the mummies come to life and leave their vaults. On the streets of Dublin, they would search for houses where everyone was asleep. If the inhabitants had left their door unlocked, the mummies would enter and suffocate their victims while they slept. They only have the energy to do this during full moons. At other times, they can't even move, but they can be heard whispering, with their voices echoing through the vaults. In the 5th century, there was a notorious chieftain called Batak. He was a real tyrant, hated by his own people, so his people asked a rival chieftain to murder him. Batak was soon killed and buried. His people celebrated their liberation, but Batak soon rose from the dead. He demanded his subjects pay him a blood tribute to keep him alive, but instead they killed and buried him again. But as he was already dead, he arose from the grave every time. They soon realized it wasn't working and sought the help of a sorcerer. They learnt that Batak was no longer human and that he could only be slain with a magical sword. They were given a magical sword to do this, but when they returned to their village, everyone had already been killed. Their blood had been drawn and Batak had escaped. He still wanders the Irish countryside, hunting for blood to keep him alive. There are many headless horseman legends. One of the oldest comes from Ireland. The Dullahan can sometimes be seen riding a black horse. There is no head on his shoulders. Instead, he carries his skull in his hand. He rides his horse constantly until someone dies. When that happens, he arrives at the place of death to claim their soul. The Dullahan carries a whip. If anyone sees him, their eyes will be lashed out with that whip, which is made from a human spine. There is just one way to defend against him, with the use of gold. Show him even a small amount of gold and he will flee in terror. But the Dullahan can cause a person to die simply by screaming their name. The name Dullahan means dark man, and he is said to be a unique type of fairy. The Banshee is a female spirit. She usually takes on the form of either an old hag or a middle-aged washerwoman. The Banshee is an omen of death, causing her victims to die. Anyone who encounters the Banshee will hear her terrifying scream. Her scream is deafening, and if you hear it, you'll soon die. You may pass in the coming months, or you may instantly fall dead, with your body immediately decomposing. The Banshee is said to plague certain Irish clans. Those clans no longer exist, but their descendants are known to the Banshee. When she identifies a family to plague, all its male members will be targeted by her. Only members of those families will be able to see the Banshee or hear her scream. Halloween is celebrated all over the world, but it began as an ancient pagan legend. The Irish pagans believed in two separate worlds. The first was our own, where we live. The other was occupied by the spirits of dead people. There was a barrier between the two worlds, but this barrier would weaken for a short period each year. It was always at the end of October. For one night each year, spirits would be able to cross the barrier into our world and roam freely. Not all spirits came peacefully, so people would wear masks to disguise themselves as spirits also. By the next morning, the spirits would have returned to their own world, and regular Irish were safe for another year.
Halloween is fun.